Good morning and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news or news in general in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's here in the house, and then we'll get into this. Mr. I Need My BTC. Good to see you, buddy. Black Hat Team. Leo Lustig. Good morning, sir. Mike R. Good to see you. Mining to fill my bags. We have Steven Cicero first, as always. Good to see you, buddy. Son of a Rabbit, good morning. Dakota Miner, Dom G. Let's see, anybody else? 10 minutes to midnight, triple nickel. Anybody else I may have missed, I apologize. Let's get into this. Bitcoin 63,640 bucks. We got Ethereum at 2623. Look at that. Solana 150 bucks. Nice. Look at that. That's perfect. We got XRP at 58 cents. ADA's at 38 cents. Near protocols actually been doing pretty well the past couple days. $5.25. We got Sui up 10% today to $1.73. Litecoin is at 66 bucks, 66.32 to be exact. Casp is actually under 16.5 cents. Might be a good jump back in time. I'm actually waiting for it to pull back a little bit more. I think it will, and then I'll jump back in personally. ETC 1937, and I didn't sell all my bag of Casp, by the way. I just sold some of it, and yeah, I've been waiting to buy back in. Dogecoin 10 cents, or almost 11 cents actually. Nice. Look at that. Link is up 7.58% as well. $12.33. Man, let's see. Nothing else really jumping out at me. I do have a lot of things I want to cover today, though. Mrs. Caroline Ellison from FTX got sentenced to 2 years in prison, 24 months to be exact. Kind of crazy. Looking over here, well, not crazy, but it's crazy she only got that, right? Say 25% up on the day according to Crypto Bubbles over here. Looking at Chile I don't know how you're supposed to say this. This is $12.97 as of right now, down 21.7% on the day. Crazy. This is a top 100 coin. That's insane. Let's see. WorldCoin 5.5% up today to $1.83. Not too crazy. Jupiter 6.3% up today, 87 cents. Where is Render? I know Render was doing well. Probably right in front of me, and I don't see it. I don't see it. It's early and I'm tired, clearly. Where is Render? What is Render doing? Where is Render? Oh, right there. Wait, no, that's not the right Render. RNDR. Didn't they change it to the actual word Render? $6.11. I don't know what's going on with that. Interesting. Missed a day and things go to shit. That's what happens. Again, if you guys have any questions, at me in the chat as always. All right, flashbang. Let's see what we got over here. We got a 59 on the Fear and Greed Index. That needle is slowly moving upwards. Yesterday it was 54. We actually missed yesterday's stream. I apologize for that, but we're back for the rest of the week. Good morning, Mr. Max Voltage. Good to see you, buddy. 59. You guys know I don't really care about this until it's like over 75 or under 25. Those are usually the 2 points, but right here we want to slow climb up into the green. Hopefully October is the thing. That's how it goes. All right, moving on. CoinGecko, top 10 coins by coin market cap. Over here we got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, XRP, Lido Staked Ether, Dogecoin, and Toncoin in 10th place at a $14.4 billion market cap. Looks like Cardano flipped Tron coin, $13.5 billion market cap, and Tron, I said Tron coin, Tron, just Tron, to 13 billion. Crazy. It's nice to see Cardano actually moving back up in the ranks. I think it deserves top 10, but we'll have to see. It's going to be a fight between that and Toncoin. Let's see, scrolling down a little bit. Near protocols in 21st place. Nice. We got LTC in 25th place. Where's Caspa? Caspa's out of the top 30. We're at 32nd place over here, still at a $4 billion market cap though, which is pretty awesome. So again, I'm thinking about buying back in. Crazy. What is Ellithium looking like today? I know that's been one of the coins that everybody's mining on these new machines. 4.67% up today. Look at that. We got $1.71. Last 7 days kind of just been floating sideways, to be honest. I guess it's coming up a little bit. Not too bad. Could be worse. It's been holding its ground for 3 months, actually. I mean, yeah, we've had spikes up and down, but The midpoint's pretty it's held pretty strong. I'm actually kind of shocked. Not too bad. How is Radiant? Radiant, the RX Zeros. I don't know if you guys got those yet. I don't think you have, but 7-day. Yeah, it looks like that's been kind of eating it a little bit. It's got a $15 million market cap. So like market caps like this, oh sorry, yeah, no, $1 million market cap, I was right. Yeah, these market caps like this are easier to move than others. Same thing with lithium, right? But yeah, I don't know, is what it is. All right, moving on, mining segment of things. Let's see, I got a lot of things I want to watch this morning. We don't have too much time. Andrew Massage is creeping up. What's up, Mr. Crypto for Seniors? Good to see you, buddy. I still gotta mail you stickers. I apologize, I haven't done that yet. What is up, Gundy? Good to see you, buddy. Happy hump day. Absolutely. All right, the AL1 Pro over here. We got 16.6 terahashes, 3730 for wattage, $64.92 a day on this AL1 Pro at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. The AL1, we have 15.6 terahashes over here, making 61 bucks a day. The AL3, 15 terahash unit, making 58.35 a day. Insane. We got the A11 Dragon Ball miner, 3.2 terahashes on Radiant, getting $20.73 a day. Crazy. I feel like I don't remember how much this one was at actually. Was it much higher than this? Was it like 40 bucks a day or something? I can't remember if it was like 40 or 60. I'm not really a big Radiant guy, to be honest. Bitmain Antminer KS5 Pro 21 terahash unit over here, making $17.36 a day. We got the KS5 20 terahash unit making $16.53 a day. The Antminer L9. I know my man Mr. Ira Crypto Mining got one of these at his facility. 17 gigahashes. Dogecoin and Litecoin over here. I think you can mine bells with these too, but $15.36 a day. Not too bad. It's nice to see these things are actually out there and starting to ship and all that. We got the Gold Shell E AL1M, the lithium miner, $15 a day, 4.4 terahashes. Insane. Wait, hold on. What is this? Wait, this 2 L9s now? What in the hell? All right, so hold on. So 17 gigahash unit was 1536. The 16 gigahash unit is 1445 a day on the on Dogecoin and Litecoin. Man, weird. I don't remember seeing 2 L9s on this list. Interesting. Man, these ASICs, dude, like I can't even keep up. You miss a day and you're like, there's like new machines. It's just insane. There's so much stuff all the time going on here. All right, the Antminer L7 9050 Litecoin and Dogecoin miner. You guys know I got this thing down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them if you guys are interested in hosting. Links in the description. This is again 9050 per hash rate. We have $4.52 a day on this unit. Again, it's been profitable throughout the entire bear market, so I can't complain. $5 is better than no bucks. Know what I mean? All right, let's see. We got the AL Box 2 Plus 1 terahash unit. I actually need to get my solar stuff back on today. I've been neglecting that whole trailer for the past like week. 480 watts over here, $3.30 a day. That's good on free power, but man, it's like the price of these things that you're actually getting is just completely tanking. It's insane. The AL Box 2, I got this thing also, 720 gigahashes, 360 watts. Shout out to Gold Shell for sending it over. $2.34. It's crazy. Again, it's better than no bucks, but still, it's pretty bad. Where is the AL Box? The original AL Box, 360 gigahashes over here, making $1.17 a day. Bruh. Man, I hope people made their money back on these things, man. I really hope lithium gets price appreciation because it's freaking crazy. The RX Zero over here, 100 watts at 260 gigahashes on Radiant, $1.91 a day. Dude, that thing makes more than the KS3, the 8 terahash Aspa miner, $1.81. Oh, that is terrible. Absolutely terrible. All right, I'm done being depressed today. I don't even want to look at this anymore. I don't know about you guys. You know what? I could use a little more pain. S19K, 75 cents negative. Bruh. All right, no more pain. Let's move on to GPUs and see what we got over here. The most profitable coins to mine. Look at this Aleo. one. Aloe, I don't know how you're supposed to say this. I still have no idea how you're supposed to say this, but looks like that's on the top of the charts for everything. Able as well for the 170HX. You get Carlson and Pirate Hash, dual mining, nice. Ooh, Chlor. How's Chlor doing, actually? You know what? I thought about buying some Chlor last night. It just sucks. I really wish it was in frickin'... Of course. Like, why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it have a run up a couple cents when I was like thinking about buying it yesterday? Stupid. Every time I think about buying something, I don't do it. It goes up every time. Or if I sell it too early, or if I think I'm, I need to sell it. Yeah, it's usually like a smidge too early every single time. But yeah, Chlor's doing pretty good, 21% up. That's awesome. I just like the fact they actually have a real platform. I really wish they had a better wallet though. I wish they were in Tangem. That's the only thing I really wish, because it's not like it's not like you could just add it. It's not on the ETH chain or anything, on the Solana chain, right? Interesting. All right, let's see. We got Zealous over here for the 90HX. How's Zealous doing? XEL, let's see. Let's see, 0.91% up today, $7.99. Remember this thing was like 20 bucks? Man, that was 3 months ago. Holy shit, it was 3 months ago. It was up over 15. Damn, this coin, man. I don't understand why it went up to $37. Does anybody? Let me know if you know why. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Looks like, again, Chlor, Carlson, Pirate Hash, that Aleo coin. And yeah, pretty much it. All right, flashbang, lithium. Let's see network hash rate. We have 14.48 petahashes right now collectively, right? I heard yesterday somebody in Discord, I do have Discord open, hold on, let me see. My man Royce, I think, put it in my VIP, said that a lithium got up to like 19. Jesus, yeah, he wasn't kidding. Here it is. It got up to 19.77 petahashes yesterday on the network hash rate for lithium. So I'm assuming Bitmain is testing some more units, getting ready to ship. Bruh. Sucks to suck. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna see. All right, let's see. We're gonna do a little bit of Gary bashing this morning, as you guys know.
Eat shit, Gary.
Let's see what Mr. Tom Emmer has to say over here. I guess this was a SEC, U.S. congressional hearing or something, and he was shitting on FTX. He was shitting on Gary Gensler for all the bullshit in the past, his term, basically. So we're gonna see what he has to say over here. It's about 2 minutes long. Guys, that like button, appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
The SEC broke the law, your attorneys lied to the court, and no one in your leadership here in D.C. has been held accountable. That tracks. Seems like business as usual here in Washington. Okay, switching gears very quickly. It's been recently reported that Vice President Harris has finally said she'd craft clear rules of the road for the digital asset space if she becomes president. Is this your approach too, sir? Or do you think she's rebuking you because she doesn't think you've done a good enough job establishing these clear rules over the last 3 years of her administration?
I think that there's laws in place. If Congress wishes to change them, they'll change them. But we are enforcing the laws, and there are many people in this field
so you don't
that are
think
not
she's
following
rebuking
the laws.
Reclaiming my time. Well, it's very interesting that you view your performance that way, because we have a litany of court cases, extraordinary confusion in the marketplace, and millions of Americans pining for clarity from you. You've abused the agency's enforcement tools, and you've even baited companies eager to comply with you, only to hit them with enforcement actions. You've retaliated against businesses and people who have come before this committee to talk about the next generation of American finance. And perhaps somehow, worst of all, you've made up the term crypto asset security. This term is nowhere to be found in statute. You made it up. You never provided any interpretive guidance on how crypto asset security might be defined within the walls of your SEC. Yet, you made the broad proclamation that you believe a majority of tokens are crypto asset securities. You did this, and you deliberately used this made-up term as the basis for your entire enforcement crusade over the past 3 years, only for your lawyers to retract it in a footnote to a court just last week. Your inconsistencies on this issue, sir, have set this country back. We could not have had a more historically destructive or lawless chairman of the SEC. I yield back.
Eat shit, Gary.
I didn't hear that whole thing. That was brutal. He lays into him so hard every single time. That's a riot. All right. Again, this was breaking news. Caroline Ellison sentenced to 2 years in prison for the role in FTX collapse. Let's see what they got to say real quick over here. This is like a minute long.
And Mackenzie Sigalos has the details. Mackenzie.
Hey, Morgan. So we just heard from the judge in the case with Caroline Ellison. She's been sentenced to 24 months in prison, 3 years of supervised release after that. Also an $11 billion forfeiture. Now, this is beyond what we thought.
What the hell does that mean? $11 billion forfeiture. Does anybody know? Please let me know. That doesn't mean she doesn't have $11 billion. What does the forfeiture mean? Does she own stuff maybe? Like a house and shit? Like $11 billion? What?
We're going to get here. The probation department had suggested 3 years of supervised release, no jail time, because Caroline has spent almost 2 years now cooperating with the government, federal regulators, and the FTX bankruptcy estate, helping them to piece back together what they can. But Judge Kaplan said that despite the fact that she was a huge help to the prosecution, it wasn't enough to give her a get out of jail free card here. So he said that 24 months is what they needed to show her instrumental role as being a part of this fraud.
So, Mackenzie, I'm just curious. I mean, we've seen a number of sentencings already. Where are we within this process now? Was this sort of the last outstanding of senior management for sentencing and for jail time?
So Caroline was the third executive from Sam Bankman-Fried's empire to be sentenced. Sam got 25 years. They both were guilty of the same 7 charges. And we had another executive, Ryan Salem, who got a 7.5-year sentence, was beyond the scope of what even the prosecution was asking for. There are 2 more big names that we're waiting to hear from. Their sentencings are at the end of October and then in November. That's Gary Wong, the co-founder of FTX, and then Nishad Singh. They both were cooperators with the government. But the fact that Caroline, who's really the star witness, who helped to put Sam Bankman-Fried behind bars, the fact that she got 2 years of jail time, we'll likely see that when Nishad and Gary are sentenced at the end of this month and in November.
Uh-oh. Womp womp. All right. Move on. Trump tax plan Trump tax plan would be shift from income tax to consumption tax. I want to hear what they have to say over here about this on CNBC television. This is about 16 hours ago. Let's do it.
So if former President Trump's tax proposals become reality, would it shift the USA to a more consumption-based tax system, or at least away from a system that is built mostly on taxing income? And what could the impact be on Americans and the economy? Joining us now to discuss is Brendan Duke, the Senior Director of Economic Policy at the Center for American Progress Action Fund, and Casey Mulligan, Professor of Economics at the University of Chicago.
This is sped up, by the way.
Casey Mulligan, let me begin with you. Let's talk about tariffs and their power to generate income or revenue for the federal coffers here. How much could those tariffs add, and who pays tariffs? Do foreign countries, foreign companies, and foreign individuals pay the tariffs, or do Americans pay the tariffs? Casey?
Now, the revenue question, we have, a lot of what we buy in America is from America, regardless of whether we have tariffs. So there's a limited amount of our spending out there that can be tariffed. And some of the rates that I've heard people talk about, I'm not sure where that's coming from. In the Republican platform that President Trump presented in Milwaukee and was adopted by the RNC refers to baseline tariffs. I don't expect those to be all that large, although it's a whole Republican operation. So a Republican Congress and House would have to decide what they mean by baseline tariffs and how much.
Brendan, let's talk about the idea that part of what may be afoot here, as President Trump has moved away in his proposals to exempt overtime, tips, and Social Security income from taxes. Is he moving away from a reliance on the income tax as the principal way the federal government is funded, and in any sense toward a consumption tax?
Yeah, sure. So as you guys said, he's proposed about $10 trillion of tax cuts, basically all on the income tax side. So that reduces our reliance on income taxes, which the wealthy disproportionately pay. On the other hand, he has pitched 10 to 20% tariffs on every imported good entering the United States, which is a consumption tax. In some sense, as Vice President Harris has said, works in effect like a national sales tax. So that's raising our reliance on consumption taxes, which low and middle income families are going to pay more of than they do income taxes. So it's a shift of our revenue mix from income taxes to consumption taxes. And in that way, there's actually some similarities to traditional Republican ideas, of shifting our reliance to a sales tax or a VAT, but in kind of a weird way, and actually a way that could actually really harm economic growth.
Casey, I saw you shaking your head there. Do you not see it that way?
No, the tariffs are not a consumption tax. It's also an investment tax. I mean, we import, aside from residential investment, pretty much all other kinds of investment, we're importing a fair chunk of that. I mean, as I said before, most things we buy as American, whether it be consumption or investment, but the mix of imports between consumption and investment is like the rest of the economy. So I would view it more like some kind of expenditure tax, or even somewhat like an income tax, although not the progressive element of it.
Somewhat like an income tax. So where, Casey, in other words, is all the revenue going to come from? I mean, are tariffs of 10% or whatever number put out there enough to supplement or replace the changes or the income that would be lost on a traditional income tax?
Well, I don't think there's a plan to have huge cuts in the income tax. The SALT part, I don't know how that get out there. There are people in Trump's orbit from California, like Navarro and Mnuchin, who want SALT back, of course. But President Trump had dealt with that debate many times in his administration, and he's always siding on this side of keeping the SALT out. And, it's a giveaway to blue states. And I don't see how we could possibly expect President Trump and a Republican House and Republican Senate to bring the SALT back and have that giveaway.
But I think he said it last week in a rally in Uniondale on Long Island. He basically said he was in favor or would fight to get that SALT deduction back into the tax code.
No, I don't expect that to happen for the reasons I mentioned.
Yeah, well, there's a lot that probably isn't going to happen. There's probably a lot that isn't going to happen because people are throwing around lots of promises. Brendan, let's talk about the idea of pivoting toward a consumption-based tax. I mean, I've often thought that one of the flaws in our tax system is that different kinds of income are taxed different ways and at different rates, and that is a distortion. It causes people to seek out income to get paid in ways that produce the lowest tax rate. If you went to a consumption tax, is that a more efficient, not necessarily progressive, but a more efficient way to bring in revenue?
Look, I think the key thing is that a consumption tax, given the U.S. Congress, given, President Trump, is likely to have just as many holes in it as the income tax. I mean, you can't take the politics out of politics.
In other words, you would have loopholes. You would have certain kinds of expenditures that wouldn't, or a VAT, which most countries have. Most countries have a VAT.
Sure, but different rates on different types of goods, right? So again, you can't take the politics out of politics. Certainly there would be loopholes.
Well, I guess what I'm driving at is a VAT a more efficient way to raise and collect revenue for the federal government than an income tax is?
I mean, again, a VAT you made up without Congress putting in exemptions is, one category that I think is not realistic. But on another level, I think the key thing is when you look at the studies behind, what moving to a consumption tax and replacing the income tax with it would do, you get some increase in GDP, but most families are worse off because they're paying more in taxes, right? So, on the one hand, on the other hand. So I think that's the key thing to me, in my opinion, is that just middle income families would be worse off because they're paying more in taxes. The wage increase isn't good enough to offset that increase in taxes.
Interesting. All right, let me see real quick. Crypto KJ in the chat said the forfeiture is designed to make certain that if she ever makes money, it goes not to her, but to the government and the victims. So she is paying $11 million back in total. That was to the Caroline Ellison being in jail bit. All right, let's see. Let's move on. It's all about growth to determine where stocks go next. Let's see what they got to say over here again. CNBC television about 15 hours ago. Let's do it.
Let's take us to our talk of the tape. Where to find the best opportunities within this bull market right now? And let's ask our panel that very question. Adam Parker is the founder and CEO of Trivariate Research and a CNBC contributor. Lauren Goodwin of New York Life Investments. Christina Hooper of Invesco. Welcome, everybody. It's good to have everybody here. You're still defensively positioned. So you said probably sell the first rate cut. Well, we got the first cut, but why are you defensively positioned? We've been hitting new highs here.
So the note that we wrote this weekend was there's nothing worse than being a consensus bear and being wrong. It's like the worst thing you can do is everyone's cautious coming in September, and instead of it being the self-fulfilling prophecy, it's like wrong. And, there's some new news. Obviously, this China stimulus is a positive. Generally, when they do stuff, it helps, energy materials and industrial. So that's incremental from, maybe a few days ago. But I'm trying to take a step back and say, what do I believe is like a reasonable scenario for the economy and for corporate earnings? Can I stretch it to get, sort of $300 in 2026 earnings for the S&P? Should I pay 20 times that? That gets me about 6,000. So, okay, I can see, I'm paying 20 times 2026 earnings right now in a slowing economy while they begin to stimulate. Maybe. It's just really hard for me to walk in and say, I think there's like 10, 15% upside justifiably. So I feel like I can pick stocks in this environment more than I feel like I want to just, chase, what's been a massive rally.
Do you think statistically earnings tend to do better in a lower rate environment? do stock prices tend to do better in a lower rate environment?
Yeah,
is the answer yes?
It's more the latter, where
I'm asking you that because you have a PhD in statistics. I'm playing around with you a little bit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, what I wrote in the note is I think there's a 90% chance earnings come lower and a 10% chance they come up, and a 50% chance the market goes up and a 50% chance it goes down. I know the earnings estimates are too high for Q4, and I thought FedEx and maybe we'll see. There's some bellwethers that are starting to show a little bit of squishiness, but on the other hand, I'm less confident that we just won't have more multiple expansion, because there are some things that I can dream about that can cause margin expansion, particularly around productivity, AI deployment, et cetera. So
are we seeing that?
We are, and I think you'll see more of it. And I think what's in the price now is a pretty healthy rebound in the 2025 earnings and continued growth into 2026, and I'm paying a pretty chunky multiple on that 2026. I think it's possible. I'm not saying, hey, short stuff, but I think, as we've been saying, I just don't know if I can believe 10% upside is more likely than 10% downside until I get a little bit more confident on how much the consumer's slowing. There's no question the consumer's slowing.
Let's just take it, Lauren, base level, right? Let's go back to the beginning of when the Fed does what it's doing, right? 09, we learned from 09, don't fight the Fed, right? Somebody came up with that at some point, and it's worked on both sides. They start hiking, stocks fell sharply. They start cutting, aren't stocks supposed to continue to rise? And isn't this a boost to stocks? That's what they say. Are they right?
I think in this circumstance, they're right for now. But the reality is that it's still all about growth where stocks go next. And it's actually true for profit margins as well. When the Fed is cutting historically, profit margins stay about where they are, earnings stay about where they are until growth slows. And so that's an environment where the equity market can continue trudging higher. But it's difficult to see the real economic catalysts that get us a real upstart in growth without inflation that the market would be happy about. And so I'm a buyer of this rally until unemployment claims start rising, until earnings start declining, really until growth's a problem. And I think we're going to see a really volatile market between those.
Is different this time. But this is unprecedented. Has the Fed ever started cutting interest rates at a time when the economy was as reasonably good as it appears to be today?
It is hard to find a place in modern times where this has happened.
50 basis points, nonetheless?
A crisis cut in a non-crisis environment. Absolutely. It's unheard of. And I think we have to recognize that the Fed is cutting into growth. Now, yes, we are going to see a slowdown, but I think it's going to be very, very brief, and that we're going to see a reacceleration. Not only do we have 50 basis points already, but we're looking out on 50 more this year and significantly more next year. In fact, if we listen to some of the FOMC members, we can expect more and more cuts. This is an environment, I think, where we're throwing a lot of jet fuel behind stocks. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to see the stock market go crazy. But I do think, especially those areas that haven't had as big a rally, especially the cyclicals, where there is an expectation that if the economy does reaccelerate, they'll perform well. We'll see that. And what's happened today in terms of the China announcement, it's only helping that.
I want to go back to.
Interesting. Let's see. All right. Scrolling, getting over here. Let's see. All right. Caroline Ellison faces sentencing again. She was already sentenced to 2 years in prison after this was released yesterday, about 16 hours ago. Let's see what they got to say on CNBC Crypto World. Guys, the like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
Let's talk about the top stories. Coinbase pressed for clearer rules on digital assets during yesterday's oral arguments in its lawsuit against the SEC. For context, the exchange filed a petition for rulemaking in 2022 and legally challenged the regulator further last year to respond to its petition, which seeks clarity on what classifies digital assets as securities. Well, the SEC denied the petition back in December. Reuters reported that yesterday, Coinbase asked the court to overturn the denial, and the commission argued that adequate rules are in place. Coinbase chief legal officer Paul Grewal took to X yesterday to say that Coinbase is determined.
Just talking about my light. That light right here just fell off the wall. I was like, what the hell was that noise? God damn it.
To leave no stone unturned in its efforts to get more clarity for the industry. Meanwhile, Coinbase is also battling a legal challenge brought by the regulator last June, alleging securities law violations. We reached out to the SEC, but didn't hear back right away. However, Chair Gary Gensler and other SEC commissioners joined a House Financial Services Committee hearing today, where Committee Chair, Republican Representative Patrick McHenry, warned that the U.S. crypto industry would fall behind to Europe's without clear regulation, and Democratic Representative Maxine Waters said she wants to strike a grand bargain on stablecoins and other bills. When McHenry directly asked if the SEC differentiates between crypto tokens and tokenized securities, Gensler said it comes down to the Howey test. Next, an official OpenAI X account seems to have been compromised to shill a crypto token. The post came yesterday on OpenAI's newsroom page on X, promoting a token to make it appear as though it was affiliated with the company. It said the token is bridging the gap between AI and blockchain tech, and that holding the token would grant access to future beta programs. The post has since been deleted with no mention of the hack by the company. We reached out to OpenAI but didn't hear back right away.
Womp womp.
Let's get to our main story. Today is the sentencing of former Alameda Research CEO Caroline Ellison. And Crypto World's Mackenzie Sagalos spoke with defense attorney and former federal prosecutor Paul Tuchman about today's hearing. He lays out what precedent Ellison's sentencing will set for other FTX execs awaiting sentencing, plus his thoughts on SBF's appeal and recent shakeups involving former FTX executive Ryan Salem.
I'm going to speed this up.
Okay, so let's start with Caroline Ellison.
And you guys already know Caroline got 24 months in prison if anybody's just joining.
Of Alameda. She's set to be sentenced on Tuesday. Now, on the one hand, sentencing guidelines could go all the way to over 100 years in prison. Now, that's most likely not what she'll get. And then on the other hand, you have the probation department arguing for 3 years supervised release, and then the government broadly asking for leniency given her cooperation. Has the rhetoric from the government on this case matched your expectations? And does it set any sort of precedent if she gets away with no jail time, considering that some other FTX co-conspirators are still awaiting sentencing?
Frankly, the government's proposal and submission for Caroline Ellison doesn't surprise me in the least. It was quite clear from the evidence that was admitted at trial, and most importantly, her testimony, that she was both a critical witness for the government and also that her cooperation was in many respects extremely impressive. It was important, it was prompt, and it was sincere. That came through. I certainly believe that from what I saw of the testimony, and government clearly believed that as well. And in a case like this, where it's a very complicated financial crimes case, it's incredibly useful and important for the government to have a cooperating witness who can say that they were there on the inside and outline for the jury, from an insider's perspective, how the scheme unfolded, how it took place. And that's exactly what she did. And so the value of her cooperation was extremely high. And the other thing that's important for her is that there were many instances of consequences that she suffered as a result of her cooperation. One thinks of that typically when you have a violent crime type of case or drugs where people, their families might be threatened. Certainly there were no, as far as I know, violent threats or anything like that. However, she did suffer significantly more than the average cooperating witness in that, for example, her personal romantic life was displayed for the entire world to see, which must have been very difficult. And even more than that, Mr. Beckman-Fried released to the press her own, private diary entries in a way that was extremely violative of her privacy. And so those are the kinds of things that a sentencing judge is going to consider very strongly when considering how to sentence a cooperating witness. One other thing that I think is important, particularly now, is that there is, unlike in certain kinds of cases, there aren't victims who have lost money. Now that we know that the victims have gotten their money back, that makes it just a little bit easier for the judge to give a more lenient sentence to a cooperating witness.
Crypto KJ said romantic life. She was passed around. Yeah, it was just gangbangs all day in that place for sure.
And then there's also the SBF appeal. He's looking to challenge his fraud conviction, as his legal team promised to do back in November. He argues that he wasn't presumed innocent and that the jury didn't get all the facts of the FTX collapse. What do you make of the appeal from SBF? Do you feel like it has legs, or is this just a standard procedural process for his legal team?
No, I would say, he's got a new set of lawyers conducting the appeal for him who are incredibly skilled and accomplished and have had a fair amount of success at the Second Circuit Court of Appeals over the last few years, far more than a lot of other lawyers. So he's certainly got the best legal team he possibly could have. And they've raised a number of important points, largely to do not exactly with what you would call classic legal issues, although to some extent they are, but a lot of it relates to the conduct of the case by the trial judge, Judge Kaplan. As I think was apparent to anyone who followed the trial, observed the trial, Judge Kaplan was extremely hostile to SBF and derivatively to his attorneys. And he made a lot of rulings on evidentiary issues that were somewhat controversial and aggressive in terms of bending over, I don't call it necessarily bending over backwards, but certainly taking the side of the government on issues that where typically a defendant is permitted to present their full defense. There's a lot of constitutional reasons for that. And in this case, the trial judge, Judge Kaplan, he really didn't let SBF or his lawyers put on a defense relating to the advice of counsel issues that they raised, which were real and serious, as well as issues relating to his intent which is an important element of the criminal offense, is intent to commit the fraud.
And then there's Ryan Salem, a top executive who pleaded guilty to campaign finance allegations. There's been some fireworks in those proceedings recently. The judge accused him of lying about his plea deal, threatened him with sanctions. Now, given that he was already facing 7 years in prison, how serious is this issue with the judge? Could that sentence go up? Could he face new charges or that plea deal be voided altogether?
I think that's very unlikely. I think that certainly Judge Kaplan was quite unhappy with what transpired. But essentially, right, what happened with Mr. Salem was that he was upset because he believed that he had a deal with the prosecutors that if he pleaded guilty, that his fiancée, the mother of his child, who was very young, would not be prosecuted for her role in the scheme. And so that was his understanding, at least as he's now stated. However, it's very standard practice and an important practice as part of a person's guilty plea in federal court that they be asked, as Judge Kaplan asked him when he pleaded guilty, are there any other deals that you have with the government that are not included in the written plea agreement that you have? And under oath, he said no. He said, no, there aren't any other deals. And so what he is now, by saying that, Mr. Salem was now saying, well, when I said under oath that there were no other deals, that was in fact not correct. And of course, that's going to make Judge Kaplan upset. And so that is a real issue. But, to my understanding, Mr. Salem is going to, or has said, he's sort of withdrawn, in effect, that position. But he certainly is very unhappy about the mother of his child being prosecuted, contrary to what he says or the understandings that he had with the government.
That sucks. That's real shitty. I mean, it is what it is. You did wrong. It's kind of your bad, but damn, that's rough. Mother of your child gets friggin' prosecuted too because you're a dipshit. Anyways, all right, let's see. Moving on to videos. Anthony Pompliano, it's only like 2 minutes long or so. My Bitcoin price prediction for the bull market. I'm kind of interested to see what he has to say over here. So let's do it. Is he shilling a book or is he just excited about this? I'm confused. I don't know what's going on here. Let's do it.
What's up, guys? Everyone wants to know, what is Anthony Pompliano's Bitcoin price prediction through the end of this bull market? And I can't wait to tell you what I think. But
if he shows his fucking book the whole time.
First, now that you're here, do not click away because I've got something special to tell you. I'm publishing my first book today. It is How to Live an Extraordinary Life. Now, as you can see, I've got books everywhere. There's hundreds of them in our office, and I want them to come out to you. So what I need you to do is go pick up this book today, wherever you buy books.
It's probably an interesting book. He's an interesting guy, so whatever.
This book is 65 letters to my children, and it goes over all the life lessons that I've picked up over the years.
All right, I'm going to skip forward. Crypto KJ said to go to 1:30.
Themselves, they must devalue the dollar in order to monetize the debt. As long as they debase that dollar, Bitcoin's price will continue to go up. A fixed supply asset will only see more demand as more and more people wake up to what true, sovereign, digital, decentralized money really is. I can't wait to see what Bitcoin does during this bull market. I'd love to hear what you think the price prediction is going to be. All I know is it's going higher, Laura. It's going higher. And so, while we all wait around for Bitcoin's price to do its thing throughout the bull market, I wrote a book that you all can go buy. Spend your time actually reading it. Let me know what you think.
Did he say a price? I was talking to my daughter. Did he say a price? Was that clickbait? You son of a bitch. You dirty rat. I wish I had that. I wish I had that soundbite. Son of a bitch. I didn't see it. I just wanted to look at it. All right, well, let's go fuck myself. All right, is this the end of Coinbase Bitcoin honeypot? Let's see what this guy's got to say over here on Swan Bitcoin or Swan Crypto? Swan Bitcoin. It's Swan Bitcoin. Let's do it.
BNY Mellon just became the first large U.S. bank to gain SEC approval to custody Bitcoin. Meanwhile, BlackRock just amended their custody agreement with Coinbase to require on-chain Bitcoin deposits within 12 hours after concerns were raised that the giant crypto casino was selling paper Bitcoin to ETF issuers. So what does all this mean? Could it mark the beginning of the end of the massive honeypot that is Coinbase custody? Plus, China begins injecting massive liquidity into markets. Will this throw fuel on the Bitcoin bull run fire?
Let's do it.
Perfect. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Pure Bitcoin Signal. I'm Hurley, Director of Content at Swan. Now let's talk Bitcoin. So just a few days after BNY Mellon, the largest custodian bank in the US, became the first bank to receive an exemption from the SEC's stringent SAB 121 rules, BlackRock yesterday amended their custody agreement with Coinbase to now require direct on-chain Bitcoin deposits within 12 hours. Now, these are huge developments in the world of institutional Bitcoin adoption and custody. And there are potential...
Oh, real quick. Mr. Allset just said 4 more days and CZ will be out. Really? It's already been that long? Well, that's awesome. Good for him.
Catalyst for other banks and firms looking to enter the Bitcoin custody game. Take a look at what Swan CEO Corey Clipson had to say about the news yesterday.
Big news in the Bitcoin custody world. last week, SAB 121 was applied to Bank of New York Mellon. This is a large bank that now is allowed to custody Bitcoin. So what does this mean? What I think it means is that we're headed down a path where something that I forecast 5 years ago when setting up Swan, I think will be coming down the pipe pretty soon, which is the separation of brokerage and custody, which is the way the traditional financial markets have always worked for a long, long time. This is basically saying like, hey, you can't be like FTX and both custody the crypto and also be doing the trades, or like BitMEX. So you always hear about, manipulation inside of these exchanges where they kind of wreck their customers or trade against them. And what you have in securities land and traditional finance land is you separate the brokerage so that entity can't also be the custodian. And basically there's settlement on the back end with the custodian, and that's a separate company. So I think this probably paves the way for a lot more institutional custodians to enter the space. And I think that's what you'll actually see mandated over the coming years, is that you'll have to have that separation of brokerage and custody, which will mean that things like Celsius and FTX just won't be possible in the future. So, whether you like having big institutional custody of Bitcoin, I wouldn't do it. But from a settlement perspective and from a sort of investor and trader protection perspective, I think it's a positive development.
So this further legitimizes the inevitable integration of Bitcoin into the global financial system. But it also could be signaling the beginning of the end of the massive honeypot that is Coinbase custody. Take a look at this chart from timechainindex.com, highlighting the extent of the honeypot that is Coinbase custody of Bitcoin. Coinbase currently holds over 2.2 million Bitcoin on behalf of exchanges, the ETF issuers, custodians, funds, companies like MicroStrategy, and even miners. And this news comes a few weeks after the FBI issued a warning that North Korean hackers are targeting US Bitcoin ETFs in a bid to steal digital assets. The hackers are using advanced social engineering techniques to breach the security of companies associated with these financial products, the FBI stated. So you can just imagine the absolute pandemonium that would follow the kind of rug pull, hack, or even potential 6102 style seizure by the US government of this massive honeypot that is Coinbase. BitPain absolutely ravages Coinbase in these tweets. First, he says, BNY Mellon was approved for Bitcoin custody because BlackRock wanted a custodian they could trust, and Larry made a call. Coinbase's days are numbered. They have been undone by their long-term bet on Ethereum. He then followed it up with this, saying it's going to be really satisfying when Baldylocks, referring to Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, realizes that we were right, and he should have split off his blue chip Bitcoin sales and custody platform from his crap coin gambling operation, because serious investors don't want their Bitcoin custodied by a clown show organization that sends out alerts baiting retail into gambling their life savings on effing GRT coin, and they all switched to BNY Mellon the literal instant they could. He followed that up with a
That's actually kind of a good point.
Response to someone that said Coinbase was Lindy, meaning they have staying power, saying BNY Mellon was founded in 1784. It was the first company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Coinbase is not Lindy, LMAO. They are an unserious pink sheet penny stock clearinghouse who have been worth less in Bitcoin terms every year since their Series A. Serious people want their Bitcoin custodied by serious people. The type of investor coming this cycle is fundamentally different than who has been here before. They're not going to rotate their Bitcoin profits into effing bonk because Baldylock sent them a text alert. Harsh language.
Damn, that guy is harsh.
I agree with his overall sentiment that Coinbase likely shot themselves in the foot a long time ago by not splitting off their institutional Bitcoin custody operation from the crap casino trading operation. Bitcoin is undergoing a transformation from speculative trading asset to legitimate global financial asset. And like what happened with FTX, it will separate the legitimate players from the grifters and con men. So if this spells the beginning of the end for Coinbase as sole custodian of the hardest asset in the world, remains to be seen. But as Corey mentioned, even though large-scale institutions custodying Bitcoin was always inevitable, that doesn't mean it's a good idea. That's why at Swan we always advocate for and educate about the importance of self-custody. The whole point of Bitcoin is to remove the need for an intermediary or a custodian like the big banks. Just like the iPod made it possible to store 1,000 songs in your pocket, Bitcoin makes it possible to store $1 million or even $1 billion worth of value in your head. Shout out to Anil for the brilliant marketing poster. But we know self-custody can be...
That was a pretty cool poster, I ain't gonna lie. That's kind of neat. If you can remember your seed phrase, it's not wrong. That's crazy.
Anil for the brilliant marketing poster. But we know self-custody can be intimidating. So if you have a large portion of your net worth in Bitcoin and you want to upgrade your Bitcoin self-custody security, then Swan Vault is for you. Swan Vault is an assisted
nope, you sneaky son of a bitch.
Bitcoin in the long run. And speaking of bullish, let's end on a bullish note. China just released a massive stimulus package that will allow banks to borrow money directly from the People's Bank of China to invest directly into the stock market. This is obviously huge for the continued uptrend of global liquidity, which we've been tracking. And as we've talked about, the Bitcoin price is highly correlated with global liquidity, meaning when global liquidity goes up, the Bitcoin price goes up. So we'll have to wait and see if this has any meaningful impact on the short-term price of Bitcoin. But the overall trend of increasing global liquidity is, again, super bullish for Bitcoin. But of course, we don't need any news like this to be super bullish, because as Bitcoiners, we can feel it in our bones. But I thought this video chart was pretty cool, showing the weekly relative strength index of Bitcoin historically and where we are today.
Oh, still going. Thought it was the end. 6-month uptrend. 1-year uptrend. That was a pretty cool video.
Do you feel the vibes? Because I sure do.
Well, who knows? All right. Well, it's getting real nerdy. All right, let's move on. Lark Davis, China is collapsing, and that's good for crypto. Let's see what he's going to say about China.
China. Could their economic collapse be good for Bitcoin? Well, he's still doubting that we're about to enter the next phase of the bull market. We've all focused on the Wall Street Bitcoin ETFs, the Fed's monetary policy, man. They're cutting rates finally. Woo! However, we forget that on the other side of the Pacific is China. With a GDP of $18 trillion, is the world's second freaking biggest economy by far. And they are about to turn on the money printers in a serious way. And this could pump Bitcoin like crazy. So give me less than 10 minutes of your time. We're going to dive in and learn what the heck is going on and how this could affect your crypto bags. Look, China has been the world's fastest growing economy since the 1980s. It's been a beast. Its rise to wealth and power is nothing short of just, well, spectacular. This massive economic choo-choo China train has been fueled, of course, by rapid industrialization on mainland China, massive urbanization, and a significant increase in consumer spending. The low cost of production in China has made the country the world's factory. Everything's made in China, as you've probably noticed.
That was his kid, not mine. That just threw me off.
The export-driven economy has undoubtedly played a very big role in the country's rise to power and to being the economic powerhouse that it is today. In 2023, the USA imported $448 billion worth of Chinese goods. That's a lot of cheddar, man. For context, that is bigger than the GDPs of some countries like New Zealand, or Denmark. Crazy stuff. Now, according to the World Bank, the country's GDP growth has averaged over 9% per year, lifting almost 800 million people out of poverty and making China an upper middle income country. Pretty cool. However, if there is one thing that I have learned from looking at the charts, nothing goes up forever. Not even China's economy. The Chinese economic engine is starting to lose a bit of steam. There's been a bit of an economic crisis. Doom and gloom are hanging over the Asian market right now because of some pretty disappointing data that has been coming from China. And while everyone's saying it's going to go low forever, we're probably nearing a lower point on a lot of this data, meaning the money printing that'll come soon. We could lift everything up pretty fast. Now, for one, the Chinese industrial output growth slowed to a 5-month low in August. It slowed from an expansion rate of 5.1% in July to just 4.5% last month, missing the expected 4.8% growth. It is still expanding, but the growth rate is definitely in a downward trajectory, which is not great. And that is not the end of it. Retail sales and new home prices in China have also weakened significantly. Retail sales, which measure consumption, of course, rose by just 2.1% in August, so still going up, despite the peak season of summer, though, where travel and all that stuff happens a lot. So it's not as good as it could have been. This is also a big drop from July's 2.7% figure and well below the analysts' 2.5% increase for the year that they expected. The property sector, as you've probably heard many times, many YouTube videos, also dragging on the economy. The Chinese property miracle has ended. The country's new home prices fell at the fastest pace in more than 9 years this August. New home prices were down 5.3% from last year. Ouch. The fastest since May of 2015. They've also been falling for 14 straight damn months, meaning we're probably close to a low point or bottom than not. According to Bloomberg News, China may cut interest rates on over $5 trillion in outstanding mortgages as early as this month, providing a lot of relief, of course, for all those homeowners and property investors. The job sector in China also in trouble. The country's nationwide survey-based jobless rate increased to 5.3% in August from 5.2% in July. A lot of people even said global economy right now is not a U.S. problem. It's a China problem, by the way. And look, anyway, all this stuff's not really a surprise. As factory output winds down, which also means that unemployment will go up because employment gets affected when people are not buying as much stuff globally. With a higher unemployment rate, consumers will have less money to spend on goods, which becomes a cyclical problem. This will in turn affect manufacturers, and the cycle, of course, just goes round and round and round and round and round until you hit a rock bottom, and then things start to go back up. Now, before we get into some more implications of this and some more dirty numbers, I want to take a quick.
Nope, you don't, you son of a bitch.
Look, with all this negative data coming out, it's no wonder, of course, the Chinese stock market fallen pretty bad, man. Chinese stocks have dropped to the lowest level in 5.5 years. Ouch.
Oh, wow.
Well, U.S. stocks, of course, are hitting all-time highs. It's a bigger slap in the face.
Interesting.
The CSI 500, the Chinese counterpart of the U.S. S&P 500, has declined by over 14% since May and is down almost 50% since 2020. Again, maybe there's an interesting buying opportunity over there for Chinese stocks, huh? I'm seeing Chinese stocks pretty good. Anyway, unless something drastic is done, Chinese stocks are on their way to a 4-year losing streak. The number of startups in China has also dwindled as money just dwindles overall. The wealth effect going down because people aren't feeling rich right now.
Real quick, are we allowed to buy Chinese stocks? I don't know. I don't know anything about stocks, to be honest. I don't invest in them. But if DJ's here, let me know. Are you allowed to buy Chinese stocks? I don't know how that works.
Feeling the pinch. After the US, China was the best venture capital destination in the world, but that's in the past. Now, from the 2018 peak of having more than 51,000 startups, the number has dropped to a mere 260. 260. What? We're down from 51,000 to 260 in 2024. What the heck is going on? China. And just to put the icing on the cake here to all these negative factors, China's population, more than 1.4 billion, also facing a major crisis. The population is in decline. Falling population will have several negative impacts on any economy, okay? Because with fewer people entering into the workforce, there is a chance, of course, of having a labor market shortage, which can, of course, then hinder growth. AI and robotics. Now, that might be a solution. And of course, China is a global leader in that, but labor shortage is not the only issue. See, as the population declines, the proportion of elderly people increases. Fewer kids, more old people. This puts all kinds of strains on public resources like the healthcare system and the pension funds, all this kind of stuff. You have lots of old people not working. I guess you need robots to take care of them all. With fewer workers, there will be fewer people contributing, of course, to the Ponzi scheme that we like to call Social Security. And with fewer workers, there will also be less demand for goods. Nobody has any money except the robots, I guess. There can also be a decline in innovation, since, of course, a smaller population can result in fewer people contributing new ideas. Can we all just start having babies again? Lots and lots of babies. Are you doing your part? I got to. We're going to make some more. Make more babies, everybody. Come on. Keep screwing around, but, make it happen. Come on, make babies. Anyway, fewer people, less taxes, all that kind of stuff. Look, the list just goes on of all the negative effects, right? Now, look, there's a silver lining to all this. Okay. I know you're thinking, Lark, what about crypto bags? Okay. I don't think any government or central bank would allow the economy just to come to a free fall without trying to do something. China is no exception. The Chinese need to step up their stimulus game big time if they want to save their economy. Now, economists are currently calling for an unprecedented, listen to this, unprecedented $1.4 trillion with a T dollar shock and awe stimulus package to revive China's falling economy.
Jesus, that's a lot.
That's a lot of money, man.
That's a
lot of money. That would inject much needed liquidity into China, but also global markets, and Bitcoin will benefit from that massively. I can already hear the Chinese money printers buzzing in the background.
That's so true.
It's coming. Now, how does this affect your crypto bags directly? See, when and if China turns on the money printers, there will simply be more money Bitcoin circulating out there in the global economy. Global M2 money supply will go up dramatically in this situation. With the increase in monetary supply, more money, of course, gets entered into the system that can be used to expand businesses. That can be used to create more jobs. More people have more money. There's more wealth effect. Property prices start going back up, all that kind of stuff. And they come and buy risky assets. They buy your Bitcoin. They buy your dog coins, man, which we really want at the end of the day. With business expansion comes an increase in employment rates, more consumption, grows your economic outlooks. Big and small investors, they start looking to diversify, of course, into those riskier assets. Okay, not just the dog coins. They'll probably buy Bitcoin too, I guess. Why not? Increased demand will pump up the prices. The volatility will further attract other investors. We go through a whole new cycle until we crash down again. But we go higher first. This creates positive feedback loops, which could propel us, of course, to new highs. Don't fade China's money printing. And I'm not the only one who thinks this. BitMEX co-founder Arthur Hayes, he said that the U.S. Treasury will inject between $300 billion and $1 trillion before the year ends, after which China will finally release its long-awaited bazooka stimulus of $1.4 trillion. Maybe they don't do that. Maybe they just do $1 trillion. Don't need a 0.4 on there. It makes it messy. Just do $1 trillion, guys. Look, I'm not sure if I agree with his $1 million Bitcoin prediction in 2025. That's about Arthur Hayes. I think it's way too much. 20K feels like an absolute top for me. But the combined stimulus from two of the largest economies in the world will definitely move the needle on risk assets. So hope you got your bags ready. Thanks for watching.
For sure. Shout out to Lark for that. All right, let's get into the recap segment of things for anybody just joining. Let's do it. All right, over here, Bitcoin looks like we are at $63,900. Look at that, nice. Ethereum at 26.29. Ethereum's been holding up a little bit. Moved about $300, right? So it's been holding about 2,600. Nice. Solana over $150 now, 151. Looks pretty good. We got Sui up today, pretty good. 12.37% to $1.72. ETC's over $19, almost 19.5. We have Caspa under 16.5 cents. We have Link up 7.04% to $12.31. FTM over here, I think this is Phantom. Is that what it is? 67 cents, 5.6% up today. Let's see, we got Dogecoin to 11 cents, just about. BNB is almost $600. 596 to be exact. XRP's at 59 cents. ADA's at 38 cents. Litecoin 66 bucks, 66 and a half. Looks pretty good. Crypto bubbles, nothing really changed over here. Flashbang, fear and greed index is looking like a 59 again. Under 75, above 25. More neutral territory for me personally, but that's it, guys. That's gonna do it today. I apologize. I gotta scram because I got the kids gonna get ready for school. Daddy duty calls. All right, you guys have a great, happy, and safe Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, peace out and have a good day. Appreciate you all.
If she don't hawk to her, we don't talk to her.
I love titties.
Perfect.
Eat shit, Gary.